Good afternoon, everyone. We are about to start the program in a few minutes. Please observe our house rules as shown in the screen.
Ako nagutom na po pong bullshit. Moy, pagpalit ang soft drinks, Moy. Roy. Ang ba, growers o? Ang ba, growers?
Good afternoon. Please be reminded of the following house rules. Kindly follow the naming convention below for your Zoom name. For comments and questions, please enter them in the chat box following the format below. These questions will be addressed during the open forum proper. This session is being recorded and your personal information is protected. Please keep your microphones on mute and videos turned off during the presentations. The technical team may mute you or turn off your videos at any time during the session. Thank you. Welcome to the first public consultation of the proposed Department Circular providing guidelines for the streamlined permitting for the installation of electric vehicle charging station. I'm Maria April Fornoles from the Electric Vehicle Industry Management Division of EUMB, your host for today's event. Before we start the program, we would like to acknowledge the presence of Undersecretary Mario C. Marasigan. Good afternoon, Yusek. From the Energy Utilization Management Bureau, Director Patrick Aquino, CESO 3, and Assistant Director Lana Rose Manaligod. Also acknowledging the presence of all our participants joining us today. Colleagues from other government agencies, from distribution utilities and electric cooperatives, and EV stakeholders. Welcome, everyone. And to formally start our program, may I invite everyone for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem and followed by the invocation.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, hanap ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay.
Lupang hihirang, duyan ka ng magiting. Sa manlulupi, di ka pasisingil.
Sa dagat ang tulong, sa simoy at sa langit mong lugaw, may dilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal.
Ang iskap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidingding.
Ang bituin at araw na kailan pa may di magdidiin. Mamatay ng dahil sa'yo. Bayan.
Heavenly Father, we come before you today with grateful hearts, seeking your presence and guidance that as we gather for this meeting and activity, we ask that you bless this time and help us to be focused, productive, and guide in our interactions with one another. Grant us the wisdom in our discussions and decisions, clarity in our communication, and patience with each other. May your peace surround us, and may we work together harmoniously with mutual respect and understanding. Help us to approach each task with a spirit of collaboration, and may all we do today be in line with your will. We trust in your guidance, and we place this meeting in your hands. Thank you for your continued presence and support in all we do. May this time be fruitful and bring about positive outcomes that honors your name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Delivered the welcome remarks, let us hear from our Undersecretary Mario C. Marasigan.
Maraming salamat. I hope everybody can hear me and hear me clearly. So,
Yes.
to all our esteemed colleagues from the government agencies and local government units, representatives from the electric vehicle industry, our partners from the private sector, distinguished guests, and various stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen, magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Allow me on behalf of the Department of Energy to express our sincere appreciation for your presence and participation in this public consultation on the draft department circular providing guidelines for the streamlined permitting for the installation of electric vehicle charging stations. This public consultation marks an important step in advancing the government's effort to accelerate the deployment of electric vehicle infrastructures by addressing one of the most critical challenges faced by our stakeholders, the complex, fragmented, and time-consuming permitting process. As the lead agency mandated under Republic Act 11697, otherwise known as the Electric Vehicle Industry Development Act, the Department of Energy remains firmly committed to fostering an enabling environment for the adoption of electric vehicles and widespread deployment of electric vehicle charging stations. Through our continued efforts to promote electric mobility, we have witnessed significant transformation in our transport sector. Noong pong 2025, meron na po tayong registered na 60,906 electric vehicles at yan po ay nagre-represent ng more than twofold increase kung ikukumpara po natin noong 2024 registration level of 24,286 units. Furthermore, these figures indicate that we have already achieved approximately 19.5% of the target set in the comprehensive roadmap for electric vehicle industry under the business as usual scenario. This growth in electric vehicle adoption must be matched by a commensurate expansion in charging infrastructure. While we have seen encouraging progress through the efforts of our private sector partners, marami pa pong natitira mga challenges. At isa po sa pinakamahirap na challenge po natin ay yung pong mga fragmented and across multiple agencies and local government unit requirement. The process is often characterized by sequential approvals, inconsistent requirements, and lengthy processing times that can range from 6 months at kuminsan po aabutin pa ng 1 taon bago pa maitayo ang ating electric vehicle charging station. This delay is no longer aligned with the accelerating pace of EV adoption and risk becoming a binding constraint to the growth of the electric vehicle industry. So sa pamamagitan po ng pagbabawas natin o pag-aayos ng mga permitting processes, kinakailangan na po natin na maging timely at dahil critical ang ating magiging sitwasyon. It is urgent because EV adoption is already accelerating and infrastructure must keep pace. It is timely because regulatory reforms are now necessary to prevent infrastructure bottlenecks from undermining policy gains. It is critical because without efficient deployment of charging station infrastructure, the transition to electric mobility cannot be sustained at desired scale. Kung kaya naman po ang Department of Energy ay nagmumungkahi na ma-standardize natin, ma-simplify, at magkaroon po ng harmonize po natin ang ating mga permitting requirements. Hindi lang po sa national government agencies, maging sa local government units, sa ating mga distribution utilities, at iba pang mga concerned entities. The proposed department circular introduces clear guidelines on required permits, promotes parallel processing, defines processing timelines, and establishes mechanisms to reduce administrative delays while ensuring full compliance with safety and technical standards. We firmly believe that this proposed department circular will help unlock faster deployment of our necessary EV charging infrastructure. At para mapabilisan pa po natin lalo ang pag-a-adapt natin ng mas malinis, mas sustainable, at maging energy efficient ang ating transportation sector. Kaya umaasa po kami na itong public consultation ay magiging daan para po magkaroon tayo ng mga insights. Pwede po nating banggitin kung ano man yung ating mga concerns na alam po namin ay makaka-contribute kung paano natin aayusin ang ating mga policies. Lahat po ng mga input ninyo, recommendation, comments, ay magiging essential po para masigurado natin na ang ating guidelines na binubuo ay magiging practical, responsive, at naka-align po kung ano ang kailangan, hindi lang po ng gobyerno, kundi ng ating mismong industry. Maraming salamat po sa ating lahat at isang makakalikasan at makakalusugang araw sa ating lahat. Mabuhay po ang bagong Pilipinas!
Thank you very much, Yusek Marasigan. At this point, we will have our photo opportunity for documentation purposes. May we invite everybody to kindly open your cameras and please give us your best smiles. Get ready, everyone. On panel 1, on count of 3, 2, 1, smile. On panel 2, on 3, 2, 1, smile. On panel 3, on 3, 2, 1, smile. Next panel, on 3, 2, 1, smile. All right, thank you, everyone. Now, we will proceed with the presentation of the salient points of the proposed department circular providing guidelines for the streamlined permitting for the installation of electric vehicle charging station to be delivered by Director Patrick T. Aquino, CESO 3.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. With your indulgence, allow me to walk you through the proposed guidelines on the streamlined processing for the installation of electric vehicle charging stations or EVCS. Next slide, please. So the proposed guidelines for the streamlined permitting would apply to the following: local government units, LGUs, national government agencies, distribution utilities, electric cooperatives, and other entities involved in the processing of and permits of clearances for the installation and operation of our EVCS. To provide clearer understanding on the policy components relevant to the streamlined process for EVCS installation, we provide 4 definition of terms. Existing structure or establishment shall refer to buildings, facilities, or premises that have been previously constructed, completed, and are legally occupied and operating with all required permits, including but not limited to building permit, occupancy permit, and business permit as applicable, and are compliant with existing zoning and land use regulations at the time of EVCS installation. This shall include but not limited to commercial buildings, offices, malls, gasoline stations or liquid fuel retail outlets, parking facilities, and residential development properties, where the installation of EVCS does not involve expansion, new construction, or change in the approved use of the property. Low-risk EVCS shall refer to EVCS installations where the total connected EV charging capacity within the premises, facility, or electrical service does not exceed 22 kilowatts regardless of the number of charging units installed. New structure or establishment shall refer to standalone EVCS or those developed as a separate or independent facility, including those constructed on vacant land or as a distinct structure, which are not integrated within an existing legally occupied building or establishment. Structural works shall refer to any construction, alteration, or modification that affects the structural components or integrity of a building or structure. It shall not include minor installation activities such as surface mounting of EVCS equipment, installation of conduits, wiring, or electrical components that do not affect the structural integrity of the buildings. Next slide. Section 4 sets out the specific minimum permits or clearances for the installation and operation of EVCS in both new and existing structures. The listing is as follows. This can be a minimum of 4 or 5 requirements or a maximum of 9. Note that I will be outlining 4 items that will be when applicable only. Building permit only if structural works are involved. Electrical permit mandatory for all EVCS installations. Occupancy permit not required if there is no change in occupancy classification, no structural alterations, and the electrical load is within allowable capacity. Zoning or locational clearance not required for existing structures. Excavation permit required only for groundworks. Technical plans, signed and sealed, include site development, structural, electrical, and electronics if solar assisted. Fire safety, FSEC and FSIC as applicable. Interconnection, metering application and certificate of final electrical inspection, CFEI. Business permit or mayor's permit, standard local requirement. Note that as indicated in the listing, when applicable, is for occupancy, zoning, excavation, and building. The draft policy likewise indicates that no additional national or local permit, endorsement, documentary requirement, certification, or clearances shall be required unless expressly authorized under existing national laws or issued pursuant to Section 9 of the EVIDA Implementing Rules and Regulations. The next slide will show the streamlined permitting procedures and processing periods as Annex B. Under the proposed guidelines, LGUs are required to process and issue the necessary permits and clearances within 7 working days. These include building, electrical, occupancy permits, zoning, clearance, and excavation permit as applicable. Similarly, the Bureau of Fire Protection shall issue the Fire Safety Evaluation Clearance, FSEC, within the same 7 working days, while the Fire Safety Inspection Certificate, FSIC, shall be issued within 3 working days. For distribution utilities and electric cooperatives, they are mandated to evaluate and process service connection applications within 20 working days, including cases where electrical system upgrades are required. Moreover, LGUs shall issue the business permit for EVCS installation within a maximum of 3 working days. Finally, DUs and ECs shall complete the EVCS connection and energization within 3 working days. For Section 5, special provision for low-risk EVCS as stipulated in the circular. This shall be the minimum or the requirements. Building permit, zoning clearance, or occupancy permit is not required. However, it has to be subject to electrical permit, distribution utility or electric cooperative connection, and fire safety requirements. Likewise, they will comply with the simplified procedures and processing periods as indicated in Annex C in my next slide. Annex C in this slide shows the streamlined permitting procedures and processing periods for the installation of low-risk EVCS. The simplified permitting procedure indicates processing timeline for LGUs should only be 3 days for both electrical permit and business or mayor's permit. Next slide. To accelerate the deployment of EVCS and reduce administrative burden, the proposed DC provides for the following streamlined permitting process. 1. The use of the standardized form for EVCS installation application indicated in Annex A. 2. Processing period shall commence only upon submission of complete requirements. 3. The application shall be deemed approved, including DU or EC energization and business permit issuance without prejudice to post-audit, inspection, and enforcement, provided that no action or objection is issued within the prescribed period. In cases of deemed approved, the stamped receiving copy and proof of payment shall be sufficient basis for the DU or EC and BFP to proceed with processing. No additional LGU-issued permit or permits or documents shall be required. 5. Parallel processing will be mandatory and sequential processing is prohibited unless justified by safety requirements. 6. Pre-approval site inspections shall not be required except for high-risk or structurally complex installation sites. 7. Fire safety processing, FSEC, FSIC shall be conducted in parallel with LGU permitting. I will now present Annex A, which contains the standardized application form to be used in securing the building permit and business mayor's permit for EVCS installation and operation. Section 7 provides that LGUs shall only require 1 business permit per EVCS provider operator within the same jurisdiction, subject to the local government code. On the other hand, LGUs shall not require separate permits for each EVCS site where operations are centralized under a single juridical entity. To ensure the simplification and standardization of the EVCS installation and operation, the following entities are mandated to perform key functions. For the DOE, oversee the implementation of the department circular, issue supplemental guidance and templates, maintain EV industry portal, and conduct enforcement and monitoring verification activities for safety and technical compliance. For distribution utilities, electric cooperatives, and transmission network service provider, expedite service connection and metering applications within the prescribed timelines, publish network capacity data, and designate dedicated focal persons to assist stakeholders. Failure to act within these timelines allows for the progression to energization. For the LGUs through the or Office of Building Official, act as the primary receiving authority for applications, align with Citizens Charter to this new circular, implement mandatory parallel processing, and adhere to the deemed approval provision. For the Bureau of Fire Protection, BFP, process fire safety requirements, FSEC, FSIC, within set timeline, avoid sequential approval hurdles, and conduct necessary safety inspection according to national standards and requirements. For EVCS providers, ensure all applications are accurate, maintain compliance with safety and engineering standards, i.e. Philippine Electrical Code, and cooperate with government agencies for monitoring, enforcement, inspection, and verification activities. Pursuant to Section 28 of the EVIDA, any person, both natural or juridical, including responsible officers and personnel, as well as DUs, ECs, and other mandated entities, may be subject to penalties for violation of any of the following provision. Non-compliance with Section 5 government regulations under EVIDA. Violation of Section 11, the role of government units in EVIDA. Non-compliance to Section 20 on the use of charging stations under EVIDA. Violation of Section 21 on permits under the EVIDA. Violation of Section 23, duties and responsibilities of distribution utilities and cooperatives under EVIDA. The imposition of additional permits, clearances, endorsements, or documentary requirements not provided in the issuance. The deliberate delay or refusal to process applications within prescribed timelines. The requirement of sequential approvals in violation of the parallel processing rules. The proposed DC in this slide also establishes the supremacy and policy consistency for the installation and operation of EVCS in both existing and new structures, such that no additional national or local permit, clearance, or other documentary requirement shall be required unless expressly authorized under existing national laws or issued pursuant to Section 9 of the EVIDA IRR. Other clauses, including a repealing clause that nullifies any inconsistent regulation, our separability clause to ensure the validity of the remaining provision if any part is deemed invalid, and the effectivity clause specifying the date when the DC shall take effect, which would be 15 days following its complete publication in the Official Gazette or a newspaper of general circulation. So I think with that ends the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director, for that detailed presentation. Before we start the presentation of the comments and inputs from our participants on the proposed guidelines, may I remind everyone that you may now type your questions, concerns, or clarifications in the chat box following the prescribed format. Your questions and concerns will be addressed in a first type, first served basis. Now, let's move to the presentation of the comments and inputs from our participants. We have here Director Aquino to provide his insights and responses to your concerns on the proposed guidelines.
We have a question from AC Mobility. Would car parks fall under the definition of existing structure or establishment, while parking structures or buildings are clearly considered here? Open parking slot would be a gray area as they may already be operational with all required permits, but would still require additional structures such as canopy to be built? Or would such be considered as being under 3.3 new structure or statute?
Okay, let's just parcel the question. So if it's already an existing structure, we did indicate under the draft circular the concept of low risk EVCS insulation that confines the number of permits to I think purely electrical and for the fire safety. Now, if there's going to be a new construction, technically there is a construction based on the question propounded because there's going to be a structure that will be erected, then that will no longer be considered low risk. So you would have to comply with the earlier indicated requirements, meaning that it can either be a minimum of 4 to 5 permits or a maximum of 9 permits as the case may be. Just to recap, there are, when applicable, permits indicated in Section 4. Again, those would be your occupancy, zoning, excavation, building, while the rest would be the remaining. Of course, if there's an existing business permit, -1 na yun, so it's going to be a minimum of 4 already. I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Reading the second question from EC Mobility. How would the final line on change in the approved use of the property apply to establishments or businesses that intend to engage a CPO to install EVCS on their property through a lease? Do they need to include being a lessor in the mode of business?
Thank you for the question. This is something that we've not categorically addressed in the particular issuance as presented. Kindly expect the necessary clarification as to the wording to capture this particular concern for guidance. Directionally, what the DOE intends to do in coordination with our partner agencies is to ensure the harmonized approach when it comes to the permitting and that the necessary supporting documents will be clearly indicated in the forms once we issue this guidance, this specific guidance on this particular concern. Thank you.
Next question from AC Mobility. There have been instances where EVCS with existing structures but along major roads were required zoning clearances to ensure that this would not be affected by road widening projects. How would such cases be treated moving forward?
Thank you for the question. That's something that again we will expressly indicate and address in the next version of the issuance. From our understanding, the right of way or the easement is indicated in the titles of properties from the very beginning. So the enforcement, of course, for the easement of right of way when applicable, falls within the jurisdiction of both our understanding is the local government unit and that of for national roads, the DPWH. We will reflect the wording accordingly in the next version of the circular. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Question from AC Mobility. In what form would this consolidated permit be posted on site? Is just having a copy of the common permit sufficient, or are other LGU documents, business plate needed as well? Would it be okay to reproduce these documents for posting?
Thank you for the question. Very practical question that we will include in the guidance document in the next version of the circular. Offhand, since this is a required document as you process the requirements, we would be indicating specifically that a copy, most likely the guidance would be for you to indicate or include a copy of the existing permit, while we also provide for the similar mechanism in the EV industry portal or EVOS, as the case may be, to facilitate the digital processing of the requirements once this issuance comes into effect. Thank you.
Thank you, Direk. Another question from Attorney Andy Imperial from B Green. For some permits such as FSEC, FSIC, CFEI, etc., inspections are mandatory. Is the 37-day period within which LGUs should release the said permit counted from the application or from the date of inspection?
Offhand, this is a very good question. We will indicate more expressly or explicitly in the next version of the issuance, the guidance that these mandatory inspections should be conducted within the specified timelines indicated in the circular. So as the case may be, this would be 3, 7, or 20 working days counted from the complete submission. Otherwise, it will trigger the deemed approved. We will put in the refinements in the wording and additional clarity as to the guidance for guidance of the concerned agencies. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Another question raised by Abul Khair Alonto from Provincial Government of Bataan, PPP Investment Center. Section 8. If the location is under the jurisdiction of the authority of the Freeport area of Bataan, a special economic zone authority under the OP, do we still need the permits from the DOE and the LGU?
I will get back to you on that particular question. For the looking at it, of course, this is a very special law. The charter for the Freeport, the AFAB, is also a special law. So we will respond to that and make the provisions clear in the subsequent issuance. But please be guided also that under the EVIDA, in the event that the wording comes out that the Special Economic Zone Authority retains exclusive jurisdiction, the DOE will be reaching out to you on the necessary reflection of the existing EVCS infrastructure so that it can likewise be integrated in the national figures and that any of the charges also complies with the requirements under the specialized law on EVIDA. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. A question from Mr. Brian Navarro from Meralco. Section 8.5, Inquiry. How do we ensure that EVCS providers will register their facilities, especially for residential sectors?
This is a question that, as indicated in our response prior to the issuance of the Charging Infrastructure Development Plan, that is an item that we will work with distribution utilities like Meralco and our electric cooperatives with on providing you with the access to the reportorial submissions made by accredited EVCS providers on the installations done under existing forms. So, thank you.
Thank you, Director. Question from Eric Reyes from eFuture Motor Philippines. Is Meralco aware on the provisions of EVIDA law, especially in expediting processes related to the construction of EVCS?
I think all of our agencies, national government agencies, LGUs, including our stakeholders, both from within and without the power sector, are aware of the need to expedite. What I do call on our colleagues from the power sector is to work with the Department of Energy in getting these processes expedited. This is already, for them, it's already covered by the Charging Infrastructure Development Plan guidelines or CIDP guidelines issued last year. So this is nothing new to them. But for the parallel or non-sequential approach in approvals and the deemed approved, that's something that we are hoping that in cooperation with the other agencies will be able to accomplish in this particular issuance. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. A question from Mr. Raylan Sige from Easy Mobility. Section 7. Once the business permits of each EVCS per LGU are consolidated into one, will there be a distinction between EVCS that are not yet monetized from those that are already monetized? This is to lessen the burden of proving to the LGUs that some EVCS, although already operational, are not yet monetized and have no gross receipts in relation to business permit renewal.
Okay. I think that's something that on the part of LGUs, that's that's an exercise of their delegated taxing power. So when it comes to monetization, from our basic understanding on how the business permit is applicable for the original permit, it's based on capital. They take a percentage, and for succeeding years, it will be based on operation. So our understanding is that if in the renewal there is no monetization, as you term it, or no sales, then that would be the basis of the permitting. So you will just be subject to a flat rate as indicated in the local government units ordinances. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Comments from TESDA, Adrian Sabanal. Does the circular specify who is authorized or qualified to install electric vehicle charging stations?
Thank
TESDA
you.
is currently exploring the development of skills trainings programs.
Thank you to our colleagues from TESDA. Actually, again, this is not, this is already covered by an existing circular and an existing implementing guidelines. Just to clarify, yes, the DOE under EVIDA accredits electric vehicle charging station providers who does also the installation. At present, for the appreciation of our colleagues from TESDA, we do require documentation on the trainings undertaken. If there is a direction on the part of TESDA to have a skills development program, our team from our electric vehicle industry management division, I think Engineer Andy Olgado is here, will send you a direct message. We'll be more than happy to work with you to ensure that if TESDA can come out with a specific NC for this, that's a very welcome development. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. A question from Attorney Imperial of Green. Section 7. The circular states that LGUs shall require only one business permit application per EVCS provider or operator within the same jurisdiction, subject to the local government code. May we seek guidance from the DOE on which provisions of the LGU would be applicable? As per our perusal of the LGC, barangay clearances where each EVCS will be located will still be required. Does this mean that we have to submit as many barangay clearances as there are sites?
Thank you for the question. This is something that we will expressly indicate and clarify in the next version of the circular. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. We have question from Mr. Danilo De Leon. We have an ongoing preparation of EVCS procurement to be installed on all DPWH district engineering offices and area-based shop within Region 9. These equipment facilities will be installed within strategic location of DPWH. Is there any requirements that we need to secure from DOE?
Yeah. Thank you. Actually, if you're doing the procurement, it should be indicated and tagged in your energy efficiency and conservation plan as a requirement in the government energy management program. That's the requirement that's needed. Now, if there's a direction later on for DPWH to open this to the public, that would be the time that we will be asking you for documentation. And of course, your plan, if you do intend to engage the services of a third party to operate that for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. A question for Mr. Joel Sapul of Sysnet. Just for clarification, if the structure has an existing business permit that operates a parking station and they would like to operate a charging station, will they still require to apply for another business permit to comply with Section 4?
Based on how we've phrased it, no additional business permit will be required. It will be treated as an existing structure or establishment. So the existing business permit should be sufficient. Thank you.
Thank you po. Another comments, questions from Mr. Nino J. Descote from Provincial Government of Agusan del Sur. We are planning to establish EVCS for our electric vehicles in our provincial government. Do we still need to comply all the permits as mentioned and presented earlier?
Okay, thank you. Similar to my response to the question from DPWH Region 9, what you need to document and submit would be the inclusion of the refleeting that you're doing for electric vehicles and the charging station through your local energy efficiency and conservation plan. This will form part of your compliance to the government energy management program. That's number one. Number two, if you do intend to open it to the public, if you're going to be operating it, the provincial government by itself will be operating it. It goes without saying that the necessary approvals, whether it's on the charging of fees, as well as who will operate it, would have undergone the appropriate approval from the Sangguniang Panlalawigan. And then if it is a third party, that third party, if it's private, would be required to submit and comply with the requirements on the accreditation of EVCS providers and registration of EVCS stations, electric vehicle charging stations, covered in an existing issuance. Our team will reach out to both the DPWH and the provincial government of Agusan del Sur to guide you in the items that I did mention. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. A question from Mr. or Ms. P. Florentino of LLS. Regarding Section 8.3.A, as regards the submission of requirements to LGUs, if the same considers both the digital submission and submission of physical copies, or only the latter?
We will expressly indicate that in the next version. But as I mentioned earlier in response, part of the documentary requirements, we might indicate that copies of the existing secured permits will be attached in the event that particular local government unit or national government agency or DU or electric cooperative is not yet onboarded either in the EVOS or the EV industry portal. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. From DILG-BLGT, Renz Guela. Good afternoon po. May we inquire until when we can provide comments on the draft policy? We have reservations on some of the provisions of the policy that are not consistent with existing policies that we issued in relation to business and building permitting of the LGUs. We also need to consult our legal service on this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just for everyone's appreciation, the DOE will be continuing to receive comments on the draft issuance up where's my calendar? Up to May 6. After May 6, we will also do an announcement before May 8 on the next schedule of the public consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Direk. A question from Mr. Alberto Cledera, Section 7. How does the circular handle business permits for operators who have multiple EVCS sites within the same LGU jurisdiction?
Thank you for the question. As we've indicated already, if the particular EVCS provider already secured a business permit or a local mayor's permit in the LGU, that should be sufficient for all additional sites in the particular local government unit. That's how it's phrased right now in section 4 of the draft issuance. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Question from Mel Royce Estorque of Metro Gensan Transport Cooperative. Under Section 4, should all the permits needed if the cooperative use plug-and-play portable slow chargers, or it's needed even its portable or fast chargers on charging stations on their electric vehicles for public transport?
Thank you for the question. Actually, that will be a subject of a separate public consultation that we will be lining up later next month in May for charging stations that are commercially operating of that nature. That will be under our simplified socket-based EV charging station implementing guidelines. We will take note of your question. That is something exactly that separate issuance will be addressing. But this is not that issuance for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. A question from Mr. Neil Kabiling of Moresco. On Section 8.3, how would the DOE ensure that the permitting agencies is knowledgeable in comes to the technicality of EVCS during evaluation? Because it may cause delay if such concern may hamper to the release of permits.
Actually, thank you for the question. The closest that the DOE has done to expedite that particular concern is the specific identification and treatment that we outlined for low risk EVCS, those that are under or does not exceed 22 kilowatts. Based on our technical appreciation, that is something that based on the requirements indicated specifically in Section 5 of the issuance, that the requirements would be more straightforward and would be limited to the electrical, the DU connection, and the fire safety requirements. So that's the clearest guidance. For installations higher than 22 kilowatts, the entire gamut of the requirements, we don't consider that as low risk. Then that would be the trigger for more stringent enforcement of the rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Question from Attorney Andy Imperial of Bill Green. Implementation in general. As this is a circular, are there ongoing discussions on amending the local government code or other laws so that the DOE circular would be aligned with Republic Acts, such as the local government code and the Internal Revenue Code? This is in relation to implementation of this circular.
Yeah, thank you. There are ongoing amendments, not specifically of the codes that you mentioned, but given the recent developments I just have to remind everybody that part of the motivation for the issuance is the need for us to do the energy transition. The DOE has also is working with our legislature to pass legislation specifically that would address this particular concern on the expedited processing of the permits. I didn't get to mention it at the start, but even as DOE, a national government agency, doing demonstration projects or pilot projects for EVCS deployment, I can tell you in all honesty that we have encountered the same set of delays. We are donating electric vehicle charging stations to local government units and national government agency partners. And we commiserate and share the same difficulties with private stakeholders in getting them to issue us the permits. Department of Energy na po kami. So, and then paalala lang po namin sa mga kasamahan sa local government unit, yes, there is autonomy, but this is a national law, and the national law does indicate that, you know, your local ordinances have to be consistent with the national law. So it's also a reminder, again, this is not the topic of the public consultation, that the law is also very clear. EVIDA is also very clear that no vehicle volume reduction schemes or similar mechanisms will be imposed for electric vehicles. That's another item for another day. But I just would like to remind our local government unit colleagues that while yes, we respect local autonomy, the local government unit should likewise respect the supremacy of national laws to your ordinances. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. A question from Mr. Bernie Ardiente, OPPDC, Cotabato Province. Part of our capital site development plan is the construction and installation of EVCS within the capital compound. What are the requirements that the PLGU should secure?
Sir Bernie, our team from the EVIMD will send you a DM, as well as for those other LGUs in the call who's going on this process. We'll send you what you need to comply with to guide you. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Question from Mr. Neil Capuno of LGU Santa Cruz. What Philippine Standard for Industrial Classification, or PSIC, does EVCS belong for the specific line of business permit?
We'll indicate that, sir, in the next version of the issuance. Thank you.
A question from Mr. Eric Reyes from eFuture Motors. In the portal, as we are already accredited, what is the requirement we need to submit if we are to add stations in our DOE EVCS portal, as we might establish several stations moving forward?
For the additional requirements, all of the additional stations, of course, you would have to just register that. I trust that you have a national or regional level accreditation when you did the application. If that's not the case, that's something that you would have to change in your EVCS accreditation. That's number one. Number two, on the registration of the specific new locations, you just follow the process for the registration. Hopefully, if the issuance comes into effect, that would be a faster turnaround time for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Question from Ms. Monica Di Galicia of COIL. For our 60 kilowatt DC installations at existing gas stations without canopies, since they exceed the 22 kilowatt low risk threshold, can we still justify the waiver of building permits under Section 3.4 of the new DC, given that the installation is purely electrical and involves no structural works? Additionally, how do we handle the business permit requirement if the site is a subsidiary of the main station?
Okay. First things first, on the tagging on the low risk, That's something that we will have to get back to you on. Again, as if you were listening to the response, part of the consideration on the low risk is on the safety and technical aspect. At least at the below 22 kilowatt level, there are appropriate interventions that is for easy appreciation of our partner agencies, whether LGUs or other government agencies, as well as distribution utilities and electric cooperatives. For higher capacity or fast charging, that's something that requires greater guidance. So we'll confer and see how we can better respond to your question. Now, on the second question on the business permit, that is something that we will further clarify in the next version of the issuance. Thank you.
Comment from Mr. Danilo De Leon. Thank you, Director Patrick. I believe that this initiative of EBCS procurement is part of our EVIDA law compliance and even included in our PGSKPI targets. And we were also advised that these facilities will be open to cater other government offices, which your good office will be notified once it will be realized. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sir Danilo.
Question from Mr. June Rosario of QC Government. Section 11 of the DC states no additional local permits or documentary requirements may be imposed. However, the QC Green Building Code of 2025 requires specific energy efficiency metrics for new developments. Will the DOE clarify that LGU-specific green score documentation, which often includes EVCS as a compliance point, is not considered a prohibited additional requirement, but rather a part of the unified building permit process?
We will take a look at the case of QC and probably sa other similarly situated progressive LGUs in comes to legislation. In the next version of the circular, we'll try to further harmonize that. But again, let me just I hope for understanding with our partner agencies, whether it's government, local government, and our electric power industry colleagues. Clearly, we have to get a wrestle on the permitting process. Right now, the average time for processing EVCS exceeds 6 months. We don't want to end this similar to net metering. There's a greater push for us to do the energy transition. And just by way of numbers, as mentioned by Undersecretary Marasigan, we already saw a tremendous jump for the past 2 years. We've been exceeding more than 100% in terms of registration of electric vehicles as well as sales. Sales in Q1 of 2026 this year is already more than 10% of the total vehicles sold in the market. So there's really a need for us to get a wrestle on rolling the charging infrastructure out. If there's something na hihilingin po namin sa inyo, kung gusto po talaga natin na hindi tayo maapektuhan ng volatility ng pandaigdigang presyo ng produktong petrolyo, kailangan po nating magkaroon ng transition sa transport sector. At isa po itong charging station bilang konsiderasyon na kailangan nating pagtulungan. Sana po yun yung maging nating direksyon. Magtulungan po tayo dyan. And then to answer a question na hindi pa na itatanong, na parati ring binabanggit, handa ba ang ating grid kung pumasok itong mga sasakyan na ito? Base po sa estima ng ating Department of Energy sa atin pong charging infrastructure, kung may papasok po na bilang na abot sa kalahati ng sasakyan, kung ngayon po ang titignan natin, ang total number po natin ng sasakyan ay 14,789,000. Kung may papasok po na, tama ba? Wait, our team, can you post nga? Ilang milyon yung papasok na na sasakyan sa ating estimate, kaya po ang impact lang ay lumalabas ay 99 megawatts. At yun rin po ang ating sinabi sa Kongreso, sa Senado, maging sa uplift. So, kaya po natin yung transition at nababalita rin po, if you've been seeing the news, Yusek Marasigan is one of the leads there. Patuloy po yung mas mabilis na pagpasok ng renewable energy sa ating grid. Yun po ang pagkakataon natin na makapag-energy transition. Kayang-kaya pong i-power ng ating renewable energy ang mga electric vehicles. Huwag po nating sayangin yung pagkakataon. Salamat po.
Mr. Director. Question from Mr. George Bian. Issue on permits may be a joint DO would enhance the applicability of EVCS, especially LGU plus BFP.
That is something that we are working on in parallel. Given that all agencies have a specific role, but this issuance is being issued pursuant to Section 9, Rule 3 of the Implementing Rules and Regulations of Republic Act 11697. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Another question from Mr. Eric Reyes. This might be off topic, but may we know if DOE have plans of supporting EVCS in terms of subsidies to lessen price not only in the construction of charging stations, but also to lessen the price per kilowatt we pass to consumers. Some stations are constructed by cooperatives and the high cost of construction affects their operation.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. That's something that the DOE has been working through the interagency mechanism most recently with Uplift, that the requirements on charging infrastructure not be exclusively borne by transport cooperatives, and they do the transition from conventional to electric public transport. That's why we've already indicated and we've relayed to the OTR and dun sa mga nakikinig pong mga transport sector dito. Kaya po namin minamandato yung ating tinatawag na CCS2 FF configuration. Dahil po ang ating charging protocol, yun nga po. So aasahan nyo po pag lumabas po at kayo po ay pumarada sa iba't ibang lugar, maging sa gasolinahan, yun po yung charging protocol na dadatnan nyo. Kaya kung kayo po ay nag-iisip mag-electrify, ang ating pong paalala sa mga inilabas po nating rules na sa DOE, ang default po natin na charging protocol are CCS2 FF configuration. So nangangahulugan po nun, karamihan doon sa nabalita, na banggitin po ata niyo ni Yusek Mario, na bilang ng ating mga charging station na accessible sa public, yun po ay pwede nyong pagkargahan. So yun po yung maitutulong so that the burden of putting up those charging stations, you can go to a public charging space and be able to charge up. May aasahan rin po tayong public consultation sa mga susunod na linggo dun po sa mga mandated installation. At isa po sa mga required natin na maglagay po nitong charging station na to, itong mga facility na ito, ay yung atin pong mga intermodal transport hubs, maging po yung ating mga parking locations dito po sa ating mga private establishments. Thank you.
Thank you po, Director. Question from Michael Marcelo of Meralco. Under Section 6.4, will the DOE require or recommend that LGUs standardize the format or minimum features of stamp receiving copies? Example of these are the office name, date, time received, receiving unit, authorized signature, and establish verifiable payment confirmation mechanism. Example, official receipts, reference numbers, or LGU issued acknowledgements to ensure that documents presented to distribution utilities as basis for deemed approval are authentic, verifiable, and auditable.
Yeah. Because right now, the system I did mention to you will be utilizing either or both the EV industry portal as well as EVOS. So that will be the digital paper trail. Thank you.
Question from Engineer Primo Revilla III, LGU Cagayan de Oro. Can we also request a copy or list of requirements our LGU should comply in terms of EVCS establishment, since we are moving for EV transition in our LGU fleet and would like to install EVCS also in various locations, including in future projects and developments of the LGU?
Yes, sir. Our team po from EVIMD will send you a DM para po mabigay sa inyo yung atin pong guidance. Thank you.
Thank you po, Director. Question from Mr. Neil Kabiling of Moresco 1. Under Section 8, does the DOE provided the LGU a checklist for evaluation like charging unit specification, setbacks, and etc. for uniform implementation and smooth evaluation?
Yeah, thank you for the question. This is part of the process of making our colleagues in the LGU and even our colleagues from DU and ECs on the pain points in doing the permitting process. Kasi people are asking why is the DOE not requiring as mandated in EBITDA certain locations to put up the charging station. Our answer is even if we require, ang hirap pong mag-permit. Ayusin po muna natin yung permit para madali pong pumasok at mag-install po yung ating pribadong sektor o ang gobyerno. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. A question from Mr. Danilo De Leon. We are looking forward to procure the EVCS by May of this year. In anticipation for the said process, may we request from your good office for a focal person and contact number for us to be able to anticipate future concerns and for us to be able to facilitate the procurement?
Sige po, I'm requesting our EVIMD to send a direct message to our LGU colleagues who have been posting all of these things. Paki-DM nilang para tayo na yung actively mag-reach out. Thank you.
Thank you po, Director. Another question po from Alberto Credera of EcoWorks Building Systems Corporation. How will the DOE resolve potential conflicts between these streamlined guidelines and existing condominium corporation bylaws that may impose additional private permits or requirements not listed in this circular?
Okay, for private entities, private developments, this is again not the specific circular for that. Meron po there's going to be another public consultation for those identified under the roadmap installations for EVCS, as well as the guidance on how we will be counting the parking slots and the reservation for the requirements for the charging station requirements in that case. Hindi pa po ito yung public consultation yan, pero bilang sagot sa tanong, kung ipipilit po nung ating condominium corp yung kanila pong bylaws sa hindi pagsunod sa requirements po ng batas, may penalties na lang po. Penalties yung approach. Pero ulitin ko po, our goal is not to penalize for non-compliance. Our goal is compliance. And just to remind those condominiums or those who have the idea that, you know, for whatever reason, they are uncomfortable with having a fixed EVCS in their building, under existing guidelines, meron po tayong tinatawag na a mobile EVCS. At the very least, they should be able to comply with allowing access for the mobile EVCS to service their particular condominium or facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. A question from LGC DDR10. If an applicant needs new structure for the charging station, he has to secure building permit and occupancy permit. These documents will be issued together with the fire safety clearance, electrical permit, and zoning clearance. So why require the applicant to submit the same documents, fire safety clearance, zoning, and electrical, if these are prerequisite for the issuance of building and occupancy permits?
That's a very good question. That's why the way the circular is indicated is that it is in a templated form, precisely in addressing that concern. Tama po kayo dyan sa napansin nyo. Bakit uulit-ulitin ang bagay na bahagi naman? That's why we are issuing the circular so that that situation will no longer happen because it's in a single document. Plus, we've also indicated with greater clarity that they do have to approve it simultaneously. They have to do the inspections so that they'll be able to comply with the 3, 7, or 20-day working requirements from complete submission. That is the purpose of the issuance and the template under this circular. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. We have last question from LGU Butuan, Miss Crystal Jane Soldano. Will this DC also apply with EVCS installed in residential areas?
Thank you. If it is even in residential areas and it's operated for a fee, yes. But if it is installed, the accredited DOE accredited EVCS provider will be the one handling the reporting to the DOE, which in turn will share that information to the concerned distribution utility or electric cooperative under our existing rules and guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Since there are still a lot of questions and we have limited time, we would
Hindi, okay
like to
lang.
encourage the participants.
Yeah. April, just until there are questions, let's answer the questions. Walang problema.
All right, sir. Thank you po. Okay, another question from Mr. Danilo De Leon. One of the concerns that we will be facing in the future that we might overlook is about the maintenance of these vehicles. Please be informed that once this vehicle warranty will lapse, it will be costly for us to depend on outsourcing the PMS to service center. Hope there is also a move or initiative from other agencies like TESDA and other local office alike for the mechatronic training to upskill our mechanics and technicians.
Yeah, thank you for the suggestion. I think that's part of why our TESDA earlier was looking, but more on the charging infrastructure. Now, for the battery electric vehicles in particular, those require specialized software. That's something that we'll work on with the TESDA as well, and factor that in the medium term for capacity building for our government sector in particular. We take note of that. And I also saw a question that was raised here in the chat. Why DOE set CCS2 plugs where some car brands use GBT? As we've indicated again in previous settings already when we did the consultations almost 3 years ago on the issuance for the EVCS accreditation, providers accreditation and EVCS registration guidelines, the move towards CCS2 is aligned with the Association of Southeast Asia in ASEAN. It is now the dominant standard. In response to the questions even at the time, I'm already categorically addressing it again today, that having a dual standard is an additional cost to charging infrastructure. That doesn't mean that we are prohibiting GBT. What we're saying under the existing guidelines is that if you operate a commercial charging station for a fee, the default standard is CCS2. If you'd like to offer GBT in parallel to that, so be it. But the default charging protocol for easy access of those who will be using the vehicles will be CCS2. And to cite statistics of the registered battery electric vehicles, more than 90% already are adopting the CCS2 standard, higher than 90% actually. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Director. Question from Mr. Alberto Cledera of EcoWorks Buildings System Corporation. Since the circular defines existing structures and new structures, but does not explicitly define mobile electric vehicle charging station, can the DOE clarify if mobile units under 22 kilowatts are strictly governed by the low risk rules regardless of where they are deployed?
Sir will just provide as part of the documentation, will provide you because it's already covered by an existing issuance. There is an implementing guidelines already on the safety, reportorial, documentary, and technical considerations for the operation of mobile charging stations or mobile EVCS.
Thank you, Director. I think that is the last question from our participants in the chat box. For all the participants, we are kindly reminding you if you have additional comments, questions, or clarification, you may send it through the email address as shown in the screen. We will accommodate your questions in the email. Director, if you have any message po or comments before we move to the next part po of the program.
May question pa eh. May humabol from Bataan. Sige, just read it. We still have time. Go ahead.
All right, sir. A question from Mr. Abul Khair Alonto, Provincial Government of Bataan. This is more of a sidebar question, but I would like appreciate a reaction. Considering that EVs are approximately 40 to 50% heavier than ICE vehicles, has there been any study done or will there be a study done as this will impact road construction projects as well as building standards, especially since there is a strong trust at the national level to adopt EV?
Okay, just to respond to the question, it's partly accurate, partly not accurate. If the roads are constructed to the specification, the weight of the current pool of electric vehicles should not put additional stress on the roads. The weight of the electric vehicles, actually, if there's a concern, and I will now answer that question that I am propounding myself, is that there is a greater requirement for electric vehicles to change their battery quicker versus your internal combustion engine counterparts. Now, on the road conditions, if the road and buildings are constructed to specifications in compliance with existing rules and regulations, that should not be a concern. The concern is on the tire itself na mas mabilis yung wear and tear dun sa gulong. But for us not to adopt because of half statement, part of the answer to that question is that if we strictly conform to the structural requirements of the road construction and the building design, that will not be an issue. And then on the technical consideration, I'd also like to point out that electric vehicles are evolving faster. In the next 2 or 3 years, we will be seeing that it's na composition of the battery is no longer lithium iron. It's something else, which is lighter. So that statement might not be accurate at all by that time. Thank you.
Thank you po, Director. Before we proceed to our next program, baka may hahabol pa po. I think none, and that concludes the questions we can accommodate for this session. We thank everyone for your valuable inputs. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that the next portion is that I do closing. Thank you to all of our stakeholders who stayed with us through this afternoon's public consultation. Rest assured sa bahagi po ng ating DOE, ang direction po natin mapabilis po yung proseso. Huwag po nating katakutan yung ating mga electric vehicles. Ang layon lang po ng issuance na ito ay gawin kung ano na yung nasa ilalim ng mga specialized law natin. Number 1, nakalagay na po sa ating Ease of Doing Business Act na dapat ang mga proseso ng pamahalaan ay 3, 7, 20 working days total. from complete submission. Hindi na po bago yun. Wala pong exempted doon. Si DOE po, si LGU po, covered nun. Wala po tayong pagtatalunan dapat dun sa 3720. Pangalawa po, meron po ring specific na batas, Republic Act 11234, na nakalagay ang Energy Virtual One-Stop Shop na nagsasaad na kapag ang proseso po ay natag na bahagi nito, susundin po natin, again, yung approval timelines indicated there, whichever is shorter. At yung pangatlo nga po, yung batas po natin sa Republic Act 11697 o yung ating Electric Vehicle Industry Development Act or EBIDA. Ang layon lang po ng lahat ng batas nito simplihan po yung ating proseso, maliwanag po yung ating mga timelines, at hinihikayat po natin yung ating mga stakeholders na magtulungan po tayo. Siguro itong mga nakaraang mga araw, mga linggo, nakita natin na hindi kailangang ganito yung sitwasyon natin. Ang solusyon, bahagi sa solusyon natin sa naging problemang naranasan natin itong mga nakaraang buwan, mag-transition tayo sa mga ibang alternatibong mga sasakyan, halimbawa po ng electric vehicles. At ang isa sa pinakakailangan ng mga electric vehicles, battery electric vehicles in particular, ay yung charging infrastructure. Inaasahan po namin ang ating pamahalaan, gagawin po ng ating DOE lahat para mapabilis ito. Kaya hinihikayat po namin kayo. Patuloy po namin tatanggapin ang inyong mga suggestion, ang inyong pong mga ideya hinggil sa issuance na ito. Hanggang May 6 po, Mayo 6, sa Miyerkules po. Asahan nyo po na bago po mag-Mayo 8 or May 8, maglalabas po kami ng petsa ng susunod nating konsultasyon. Uli po, marami pong salamat sa inyong active participation at inaasahan din po namin na sa susunod nating konsultasyon ay mas magiging productive ang ating pag-uusap. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat po, Director Aquino. May I remind again everyone, if you have any additional comments po on the proposed guidelines, you may send it through the email addresses flash on your screens. Also, we would like to encourage everyone to give us your feedback on this event. Our post-activity survey can be accessed through the link provided in the chat box. We will send the presentation materials and the copies of the draft DC to your registered email addresses. On behalf of the Department of Energy, we would like to thank you for joining us to this public consultation. Again, thank you and stay safe, everyone.
Marami pong salamat sa lahat and I hope na nagbigyan kayo ng maliwanag na clarification. Maraming salamat din, Director Patrick and your team. Congratulations in advance. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Yusek.
so much
Ingat
po.
Thank you. Bye.